Hey there, hi there, hello there internet dwellers, and welcome to another GameCast review. My name is OrangeLightning and I'm going to be talking to you today about Team Sonic Racing, the newest chapter in Sonic's racing history. And straight out the gate I'll say, this game surprised me in a few ways. I'll be honest, I wasn't really 100% sure what I was expecting, but the promise of teamwork was very interesting from the go, and so let's get straight into it. I'll straight away talk about the story. Let's just get it out the way. There isn't really one, it's very basic and generic. So Sonic and pals are spirited away to race for the mysterious alien tanuki named Pa, who basically goads them into competing in his races for research, with the promise that they will get to keep the rather nice high-tech cars that they're racing with. Pa does explain though that they will be racing in teams. Now this is obviously the whole point of this game, is the team aspect, but I'll get onto that in a minute with the gameplay. As far as narratives go, it's very basic, very generic. It doesn't really do much for the game, it just gives you some opportunities for some very corny, typical Sonic dialogue, but it's pretty cookie cutter plotline, and to be fair, that's fine, because for a racing game, I'm not really interested in the plot per se. I'm more interested in getting in the car and doing some racing. So let's talk about that. Let's go over to the gameplay aspect of this. The biggest thing is teamwork. This game is all about racing as a team. So you will be in teams of 3. In the story mode, you can't mix up your teams. You have to play in the teams that are already set. So Sonic, Tails and Knuckles forms one team. And each of the teams in the adventure mode have a type. So Sonic is a speed type, Tails is a technical, and Knuckles is power. But if you go outside of the adventure mode, you can mix this up a bit more. You can have a whole team of technicals, it really doesn't matter. But the actual team stuff during the races is actually pretty solid, and this is what surprised me. I really enjoyed this. I wasn't quite sure how this was going to come across, but it works well. So as you're driving, you now create a sort of slipstream behind you, and your team can jump into the slipstream and it can give them a speed boost. If they stay in your slipstream long enough, they can slingshot, which gives them a huge boost, and they will fly ahead of you. This is really great for people who are good at leading the pack and people who are not so good at leading the pack, because now you can stick close to your buddies and keep getting that speed boost from them. Something else you can do in this game is item share, which is also really good. So like a lot of other games of this type, so the Mario Karts and your Crash Team Racing, you can pick up boxes along the way, which will give you, in this game they call them wisps, that will give you little power-ups, things you can do, so speed boosts, rocket launchers, all that sort of stuff. But in Team Sonic Racing, you can share your items. So if you're in first place and you get a rocket, it's not really very useful to you because there's no one in front of you that you can shoot. But if you've got your friend who's back in 5th place, they can request help, and you can send them your item. Or even you can offer your item and then they can choose if they want to use it or not. It's something I never considered, and it works really well. So obviously you're sharing speed, you're sharing items, you're also sharing points. Yes, you may win the race, but your team may be rubbish. In the early stages of adventure mode, the game introduces the whole aspect of winning the race as a team, and when there's only a couple of teams playing, it's really easy to win, basically. If you come in first and the rest of your team come in 6th and 5th, you'll still win overall because of the way the points work, so that's really nice for players who are perhaps not as great as their friends at playing the game. However, as you get further into the game and more teams unlock, and then eventually you're getting a full roster of 12 racers, that doesn't fly anymore, and it can get a little bit more frustrating. I can see this getting a lot of people angry in things like online play, where you can't really choose who your team is. So it's kind of an up and down, positive and negative side to that one. But that's why it encourages you to work as a team, to share your items, to not get too far ahead so that your slipstream disappears for your team behind you, and to just help each other out, because if you don't, it doesn't matter if you come first, you'll still lose. So looking a little bit closer at the modes in this game, you have adventure mode, which is your standard single player campaign, but you can play it local co-op as well, so that's really good. As you meet characters throughout the adventure mode, they will be unlocked in everything else, so you can start playing as those teams and characters in online. But my gripe with adventure mode is the challenges. There are a lot of challenges that you can do. There'll be ones where you collect rings, break targets. For me personally, those were a lot more difficult than a standard race, and maybe something I'm not entirely used to doing. So it was quite a steep learning curve for me, and at one point during adventure mode, they make it so that you have to do well in at least one of these challenges to even progress. I'm okay with having these challenges, but I would prefer for them to at least be something optional that you can do if you want to do, to kind of encourage that replayability, to encourage that improvement factor, rather than shoving it in and being like, actually no, you can't go any further without finishing this. I did find that a little bit annoying, especially since the adventure mode also functions on stars that you need to collect in order to unlock the next segment. I had enough stars, but I couldn't get to the unlocky panel because of a challenge in the way. Switching over to the online mode, this was pretty good. It did take a little bit of time to get into a game, but I like to think that's because the game was still new when I was playing it. Probably not a lot of people online at the time, I don't know. Hopefully it's better now, but there was limited lag, didn't get kicked out of anything, which was nice. And there's also a few additional types of race that you can throw in. So there's like a lightning race. I think you have to use your item or you'll get zapped, things like that, which can mix it up a bit, make it a bit more interesting. Obviously the game does have your standard modes, your Grand Prix, your verses, your time attacks, all that stuff, and you can customize your cars as well. There's a gacha system that will give you parts for your car that you can upgrade, and different color sets as well. The upgrades are pretty good actually, because whilst they give you a boost in certain things, they will also take something away, so it really allows you to customize the way you like to play. So moving on over, graphically this game is pretty damn gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really nice. Maybe a little too nice, because one of the things I found a little bit difficult was sometimes it was actually difficult to see the road and where I was meant to be going. And also I barely noticed what wisp I had most of the time because my eyes were glued to my car. It looks great, but it can look a little busy sometimes. But you know, that's something actually that I come to expect of Sonic games in general, so I'm not overly surprised. And if you've played Sonic games before, you will definitely recognise some of the soundtrack popping up from previous games. But overall, a really decent soundtrack for a racing game, so I have no comments to make on that one. And it ran really well. Didn't experience many terrible loadings or anything like that. Most important question, is it fun? Yes, this game is fun. Good, wholesome family fun is how I would describe it, to be quite honest. It is a good time, but I fear it's a short-lived good time. It felt very young to me. The adventure mode story, teamwork aspects of it, it did feel very, very family, but that's not a bad thing. That can be good fun. Supporting people who are not so good at racing games and encouraging them to play and improve. I like that. I really liked how this game put forward the teamwork aspects of it, and I think it works really well. My downside is compared to other Sonic racing games, it did feel a little lacking. I know the roster was something that came up quite a bit, and interestingly that the developers chose to keep this as a primarily Sonic cast rather than introducing characters from other franchises as they had done before. That was sorely missed as well, I think. It did feel like a little bit of a step backwards. So I did enjoy my time with this game, but I'm not sure if I will pick it up again anytime soon. I'm not sure it has enough to make it truly stand out from other games of its type, but I definitely will say that I was skeptical about how it would let you play as a team, and it does it well. So my verdict, If you are a true Sonic Racing fan and you love this type of game, then I would say this is likely worth a buy for you, but for others I think it is a wait for sale purchase. It did come out at a very reasonable price of £30, but there are other games in the same market that are around that price as well, so it felt more like a placeholder game rather than the next big racing game that would capture the world by storm. So maybe you are looking for a racing game to fill the void for the time being, then this could be the one for you. Or maybe you're really wanting to get into this kind of racing game, then I think this is a pretty good purchase because it is very good at introducing you and allowing you to play with other more experienced players who can kind of pull you through the beginning of it. So that's all from me. I hope you've enjoyed this video on Team Sonic Racing. Let us know what you think of this game in the comments below, and I'll see you all again real soon. Take care for now.